I genuinely believe within my heart of hearts that solo queue Survivor is one of the most infuriating experiences in video game history, and I say this as somebody who has played both Sonic 06 and Ride to Hell Retribution from start to finish. Now, I want to make this incredibly clear because I can already hear some of the quote-unquote rebuttals that will be coming out of the uninformed people in the comment section. I do not have a small amount of experience on Survivor. I have gotten every single achievement in this game. I have completed every single tome from start to finish, so it is no small feat of mine that I have been playing this game for over 2,500 hours, and I have sank a lot of time into Survivor. I've put enough time into Survivor to hit Iridescent 1 multiple months in a row because I truly wanted to be an impartial creator. I never, ever wanted to be the creator who only played one side and one side only. I can't say never ever, right? There was a time in my life where I didn't ever want to touch Survivor, but I want to say that as an opinionated creator, maybe that's the better way to put it. When I started making opinion videos on this game, I really wanted to know what it was like to play the other side, so that I could always try to bring you guys the most impartial discussion points possible. Now, of course, I'm not free of bias. Nobody in this world is free of bias. There's always going to be a certain section of people when they talk about things that are always going to allow their personal experiences to talk over other things. And that's why most of the time, like 99% of the time, everything that we as creators talk about is strictly opinion, right? It is our opinion that is based off of our knowledge of what is good and bad in the game, off of our experiences, and we're not always going to get it right, and that's always an important thing to remember when you're talking about a video game, and that's why you really shouldn't be hurling fucking slurs and death threats over opinions, but I digress. The point is that I'm not very good at Survivor, right? In fact, I'm kind of horrible at it. The most I can tell you is that when it comes to my Survivor macro sense, I have an incredibly good understanding about Survivor in that sense, but when it comes to something like looping, I'm actually pretty dog shit. As you can probably tell from the background footage that's playing, I wanted to get Survivor B-roll for this video specifically, and I really didn't feel like playing a whole bunch of games, so I just took like the only one where I escaped, and that's going to be the one that's slapped onto the background, right? But the point is that I wanted to come on here, and I didn't want to just make this another solo queue Survivor rant, because I feel like I've done a couple of those in the past, so I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the overall Survivor experience and why I just simply cannot play Survivor without tilting off the side of the planet. So let's get into it. Number 1, what works for my opponents never seems to work for me. I don't know what the fuck it is, but whenever I'm playing killer, survivors can always make a pallet even though they shouldn't be able to, or they're able to just like walk straight through me to drop a pallet on my dome, or they always seem faster than they should be, and there's always just these little things when I'm playing killer that I notice survivors doing, but when I try to do it as survivor, it never works. Like, if I try to walk through a killer who's walked under a pallet to drop the pallet on them, it never seems to function that way. The killers always seem to be made out of fucking industrial concrete, and I can't move on like 3 feet on either side of them to get to the pallet to drop it down, right? Or I will try to make distance by pre-running a killer, but they seem a lot faster than when I'm playing killer, right? There's always this weird thing where I try to replicate the things that work on me, but then it doesn't work on the killers I'm playing against, which is odd because my Survivor MMR should theoretically, and I know MMR is basically bullshit, right? But theoretically, I should be playing against weaker killers than I am as a killer because my killer ranking is much higher than my Survivor ranking. Your Survivor ranking is based off of how much you escape, right? When you try to escape, when you escape a Survivor, regardless of how many gens you did, who you healed, blah, 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 if you escape through the exit gates, your MMR goes up. If you escape through the hatch, your MMR stays the same. And if you don't escape, your MMR goes down. I hardly ever escape, period, regardless of like the hatch. I just hardly ever escape. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm far too altruistic for my own good. I run a lot of altruistic builds. I tend to throw myself in between the killer and my teammates, which is probably something I shouldn't be doing. But regardless of that fact, it's just an important thing to understand that when I do things that work against me, they should work against the killer. Maybe I'm just not doing them right. Maybe there's something I'm missing. That's why I started my whole Student of Survivor series. But as it turns out, it's actually way harder to get a hold of Survivor content creators to actually have people help me do that series than I thought it was. But I digress. Number 2, the emblem system for Survivor is just dog shit. It is the worst, some of the dumbest fucking things. You could do 3 gens, rescue 5 people, take the killer on a 37-minute chase, and still somehow not pip. I don't know what this game wants from me half the time, and people will be like, oh, just hover the emblems and it'll tell you what it wants from you. But it doesn't make any sense. Like, half of it just does not correlate to what's actively going on. I have found like a certain formula, like to get Iridescent Lightbringer, you need to complete 2 generators, like 2 full generators of progress. You can't just be there when the gen pops, right? And then like maybe cleanse a totem or something. And then to get Iridescent Benevolent, you need to like unhook 2 survivors and heal 2 full health states. But like the Evader emblem, I don't understand how it works. I could escape every single chase I get into and still not get Iridescent Evader. And then the Unbreakable emblem can't ever seem to figure out whether or not it wants to give you gold, silver, or bronze. And then God forbid, your team actively wrecks the killer, right? Like if none of your teammates ever go down, you're not getting a benevolent emblem, like at all, right? If they get injured, you might get lucky with like a health state or something, but if none of them go down, you're not getting a benevolent emblem. If your team finishes the gens too fast, you might lose out on your Lightbringer emblem. If the killer never finds you, like at all, like the killer's like just focused on one dude and never finds you, no Evader emblem because you never ended up in a chase. And so like pipping on Survivor just becomes this goddamn climb up Mount Everest, and it's so painful to try and do all of these things, and sometimes you feel like you performed very well, and the emblems just tell you to go fuck yourself. And that just doesn't really happen on Killer. Don't get me wrong, Killer's got its bullshit here and there. Like if you finish a game in 5 minutes flat, you don't get the Gatekeeper emblem despite the fact that they never did a single gen, right? So there's some bullshit on Killer, but it is nowhere near as bad as attempting to pip on Survivor. Pipping on Survivor is absolute hell in a handbasket, and just completely and utterly ridiculous. Number 3, and this is probably gonna sound really whiny, but my teammates seem to be fucking idiots like 99% of the time. Like when my teammates are like on point, right? They're doing generators when they're not being chased. They're going for saves when they're supposed to. I escape like way more often. I had this day where my solo queue games, my solo queue teammates just back to back were just top dogs, right? They were taking protection hits. They were going for coordinated saves. When one person wasn't chased, 3 people were doing 3 separate generators. Like it was just like this amazing, like boom, 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 right? And I was just escape. But most of the time, it's like all of my teammates have gotten a fucking lobotomy. And I understand why that is. It's because a lot of the Survivor community is fucking stupid. And I don't mean to be mean here because like I said, I am also bad at Survivor, but I'm not talking about skill issue. I'm talking about legitimately just absolute idiots, right? I posted this YouTube short the other day. Hey Survivor players, I've got a genuine question for you. Why do y'all hate being fucking healed so much? Like, I'm not even kidding you. Every single goddamn match so far has just been a bunch of survivors running away from me like I'm the fucking killer. Like, would you please stop for 2 seconds and let me heal? I have fucking will make it. This literally heals you in 8 seconds. Yet all of you guys want to start running away from me, and then when the killer catches up to you, downs you instantly, then you want to throw a temper tantrum on Hook and say, oh, my team sucks in the endgame. Let me heal you. So you get my point, right? My point kind of comes across in that YouTube short, right? It's I'm tired of unhooking people, attempting to heal them in like 8 seconds flat and get them ready to go if they get chased by the killer, and instead they just don't want to be healed. And like 99% of the fucking comments on that short, that's an exaggeration, right? But a lot of the comments on that short were people like, oh, but they might have resilience. Okay, first off, most of the time, no, they don't, right? Resilience does not get equipped as often as people seem to think it does, at least not in my games, right? But also, it doesn't matter if you have resilience, you still need to be healed. I don't know why there's this idea that the funny yellow bar on generators is more important than you being able to last longer in a chase. I had one dude that was straight up like, gens equals wins, bro. Stop wasting time healing and go do the generators. You stupid motherfucker. If you go down fast and you get put on a hook, then we have to stop doing gens to come get you. The entire point of getting into chases is to allow your team time to do generators while the killer is distracted, right? A lot of people, I did a video on this a long time ago. You're not supposed to be able to run the killer for 5 gens straight, right? You're supposed to be able to just waste as much time as humanly possible, and you can't do that if you're injured when the chase starts. That's why there are so many games where you might find yourself playing Captain Save-A-Ho, going from hook to hook to hook to hook to hook, unhooking your teammates because nobody wants to fucking heal, because everybody wants to have the haha funny yellow bar from their resilience up the whole game. Resilience is not a perk that's meant to carry the generators. If you want a gen rush, you bring hyper-focus stakeout, fast track, deja vu, right? You bring a build centered around doing the gens fast. If you want a perk that helps you while you're injured, you bring resilience. It's there so that when the killer does injure you in chase, you can vault the windows faster. Or if you can't find a teammate to heal you, then you have a little bit of an extra boost while you're waiting for that important heal to happen, right? It is not there so you can stay injured the whole game. And if you're that desperate to use your resilience the whole game, bring no mither. Like, I don't know what to tell you, right? Like, there's no reason for people to be ignoring being healed. And I can understand, like, coming off the hook and then, like, trying to find, like, a little corner nearby that's, like, harder to find where you can heal. I totally get that. I totally understand that. But these people don't do that, right? You unhook them and they run from one corner of a map to the other, inevitably right into the killer's fucking arms. And then they get down instantly and then they rage in the in-game chat like, oh my god, my team sucks. Like, shut the fuck up. Sorry. The point is that I often feel like my fate is in the hands of people who either just don't want to play the game, and I can tell because they keep giving up on hook or just standing still and letting the killer down them or whatever the case may be, or I am constantly, and I do mean constantly, running into people who just do not think about what they're supposed to be doing. And again, if you're healthy and you go down in 10 seconds, yeah, it's a little bit irritating for me as a person, right? Because like, oh, you did not buy us any time whatsoever. But I also am not going to get mad at you because I also have those times where I get caught out or I do something stupid and I go down almost instantly, right? I get it. I understand that. But it is people who make legitimately stupid decisions that cause solo queue Survivor to just feel so bad so much of the time. And you might be saying, well, Kaiser, the very obvious answer is for you to just not solo queue. And that's a fantastic, phenomenal idea. But here's the rub, viewer. I don't have a lot of people to play with. Yeah, I've got an entire community, but most of the time when I'm ready to play Survivor, I want to just relax and play it offline. I actually made an announcement to my stream that I was no longer going to be streaming Survivor because sometimes Survivor makes me so unbelievably angry, I just got to turn the game off and go do something else. Like, there are times when Survivor makes me so angry, I'm screaming my voice hoarse because it is just so bad. It's such an unfun experience, right? But when I do play Survivor, I play it offline away from people, so I'm not bringing other people's moods down. And yeah, playing in a Swift might fix some of this, but that doesn't change things like when the killer's got an obnoxious amount of ping, which has been happening far more often recently. I don't know about the rest of you, but like more and more of my games have been killers with like 150 ping, 200 ping, motherfuckers hitting me from Alaska somehow, right? I'm playing against killers who are streaming from Mars, all right? I don't know what the hell's been going on with that, but my point is that there are other things besides solo queue that make it a problem, right? Like I said, the pipping system, the fact that nothing that ever works against me ever seems to work when I do it as Survivor, the killers with high ping, like there's so many frustrations about Survivor as like playing it that I would literally just rather chill and just play killer, right? Like, because even if I get my ass kicked as killer, at least I get to see the end game. At least I get to play full matches, right? I don't ever have to fucking sit there and fucking die in 2.5 minutes because my teammates decided that saving me wasn't really worth the trouble or whatever. It's just like, it's one of those things that like Survivor just doesn't feel good. Or maybe it's all just one big skill issue. I don't know. Let me know what you think down below. And as always, a great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. If you want to find out how to become a channel member today, get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, and more, then please click that join button down below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.